Welcome to Totally Electric, where we talk about sustainable mobility and we test drive electric cars. Today we're going to do the Electro Exam of the BYD Seal. The Electro Exam is our own proprietary format where we look into 8 categories of what's really important when you have to choose an electric car. Each category has its own weight, as it's not equally important how far it can go as, for example, the tech you get inside it. You can compare this car with other cars that have gone through the Electro Exam as well on our website. I'll put a link down in the description below. Let's get to it. The BYD Seal is 4 meters 80 long, 1 meter 86 wide and 1 meter 46 tall. So it's a classic sedan in that sense. It uses an LFP battery, lithium iron phosphate. 82.5 kilowatt hours, that's quite a big battery, and it's unusual to have an LFP battery in a car like this. Usually you'd find an NCM battery, which is what most other sedans of this size use. That's because the LFP battery is heavier, less energy dense. This car weighs 2,186 kilos, which is about 300 kilos more than the equivalent Tesla Model 3. Part of that, of course, is because this one is 8 centimeters longer, but definitely a big part of it is the LFP battery. The LFP battery has some advantages over other types of batteries. For example, you can charge it up to 100% consistently and it shouldn't really damage the battery. It is also made by BYD themselves. It's what they call the blade battery, and there's very, very low risk of fire in this one. I know that electric cars have low fire risk compared to, of course, the combustion cars, but with LFP, even more so. A disadvantage with the weight, besides from handling that car enthusiasts might appreciate, is that heavier cars tend to use a bit more energy to move around. We'll see that in a highway test that we do later on. This is a great looking car. When people see you on the street, they will stop you and ask you what kind of car that is, because it's not the most famous of brands around here. This follows the Ocean design line that we've also seen on the BYD Dolphin. But as opposed to the BYD Dolphin, this one looks fantastic. Everything comes together here towards the front. These slim headlines with this little thing down here reminds us slightly of the Porsche Taycan, right? The air intakes down below is for the battery, but the air intakes here on the side helps with the aerodynamics as it creates a curtain on top of the wheel arches so that there's not so much turbulence, and that improves the efficiency of this car. This particular color is called the Oceanic Gray, and it's sort of a bluish, grayish pearl. It's really nice. It would be even better looking if I'd had the time to actually clean the car. In the front, you'll find a camera down here to help you parking, and up there, you have a whole set of cameras and radar to help you with the driver assistance features, which we will also explore later on in this video. This car looks great from almost every angle. Can you tell that I like it? We've got 19-inch rims on it, which is a great size, and these aren't actually covered. They are actually shaped like this in order to improve aerodynamics. If they were any smaller, they'd look funny on a big, powerful car like that. If they were any bigger, it'd start to affect the range and maybe the ride comfort. So 19-inch rims, it's a good size for this one. We have a charge port. It's rear left, and maybe not the perfect location, because if we had a Tesla supercharger, the supercharger is there on the other side and we have to bring the cable around here or be in the wrong booth, which Tesla owners hate when other cars do. And the good thing about this location is that if we're parking curbside, this is towards the curb, not towards the street. At least if we're in mainland Europe. In the UK, I guess you're towards the street. Not my favorite location for a charging point. The BYD Dolphin had it at the front, which in this case is better. However, this being a sedan with a long nose, maybe it's not optimal to have it all the way up there. In the back, we have a boot or a trunk, which we can open with a click of a button here. And it's a 4-door sedan, so the opening is relatively small and it's only 400 liters. That's not the biggest trunk around. We've seen cars this size, more than 500 liters there. I do like this rear diffuser. Looks very sporty and very aggressive. They've got these air vents, but they're fake. No air is coming out of here. It's just for looks. Same thing with the thing on the front there as well. Let's see if there's a frunk on this thing. I mean, I don't think so, because BYD has never put a frunk in any of the cars I've tested. In order to open it, I have to pull on a lever inside the car. Let's see. Ooh. Here we go. Well, there's a plastic cover, but if you open the plastic cover, there is an actual frunk down there. It's not the biggest of frunk, but it is good enough for some charging cables, a sport bag, your stinky tennis shoes, or other things you don't want inside the cabin. Good job, BYD. The car comes with a regular key. The only funny thing is that there's a button down there you can push, and if you push that, you can remotely start the car. So, for example, you want to de-ice it or something, you can do that through the key. Other than that, we have door handles which are all the way hidden like in a Tesla Model S. If we click on them there, they'll come out. Same way, works just fine. By the way, the doors are not frameless. They have frames around the windows, which, you know, might be less sporty, but certainly is much better for wind noise. So today we're doing the range test of the BYD Seal all-wheel drive Excellent. According to the WLTP standard, it has got 530 kilometers. But do take into account the WLTP standard does not represent how far you can go on a highway or at highway speed. It combines highway and city driving to give you an average. Now, we're going to get less, definitely, but that's normal for any kind of car. I do this test because, honestly, I think the highway range is much more important. Why don't you put a comment down below and see how far you think it'll go, and then check back later in the video and see if you were right or wrong. In order to get the best reading possible, I'm using a Draggy, and there's this app you can put in your phone. It's going to tell you exactly when you go at 120, because some cars will say 120 and you're actually doing 115 or whatever discrepancy they might have. To measure the efficiency, I can't count on the car because it'll only tell me the efficiency over the last 50 kilometers. So I'm going to go with whatever the battery percentage and my calculations say. Right now I'm at 99% battery. I think you can see it there. And we're going to try to get as close to zero as possible. If I get back to the charger with more than 10%, I'm going to keep going and circle back around to make sure we get below 10%. Now, enough chit chat. Let's go and see how far we can go in the BYD Seal. Right now it's 8 degrees outside, so it is quite cold for being Spain, but it is sunny and the weather is nice. This might change later on because this car is going to go on for hours. Okay, I'm turning around now. I've got 54% battery left. I don't want to go all the way down to 50 because honestly, there seems to be some wind and who knows, I might spend a little bit more energy going back than going here, and I don't want to sit on the side of the road and have to call for a tow truck. There should be 150 kilometers there, so I should get there. In case I get there with more than 10% left on the battery, I'm just going to keep going, and then I'm going to circle back around to make sure that we get back with less than 100%. So I've only got 24% battery left, and I've still got 70 kilometers left to drive. Should be fine though. I guess I'll make it, no problem. Honestly, I've only done 237 kilometers so far, so all in all, it sort of adds up to 300 plus. I think, however, that this last stretch is where I'm going to do a lot better because it's quite a lot downhill, and I've already gone uphill because I went that way at the beginning. 10% left on the battery, and there's a symbol here saying, hey, are you sure you want to keep going, or do you want to find a charger? I know what I'm doing, I guess. Got the charging station right here, so we're just going to stop. We're just going to check average speed, range, efficiency, all the data. Okay, I've driven 308 kilometers and I've done that in 2 hours and 38 minutes. I've still got 7% left on the battery here, and I'd spent 1% just to get to the highway. So I need to add 8% to calculate the total range of this car. If we do that, it means that this car, in the conditions we've had today, which is relatively cold and quite a lot of wind, is 334 kilometers total range. That's the same as 207.5 miles. I've been driving at the average speed of 117 kilometers an hour, same as 72.7 miles per hour. The car won't tell me how much energy I've actually spent on this trip because it only shows me the last 50 kilometers. So that's no good because the last 50 kilometers was downhill. But since I know that this car has an 82.5 kilowatt hour battery in it, and knowing that we've done 334 kilometers, the efficiency of this car can be calculated to 24.7 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which is the same as saying 4.07 kilometers for each kilowatt hour, or the same as exactly 2.5 miles per kilowatt hour. Now let's do the charging test. We need to figure out how long time we have to stay at the charger in order to charge 200 kilometers, or the same as 120 miles. Means we'll have to see how long time it takes us to charge 49.4 kilowatt hours. Let's go do that. Okay, we've just started the charge just now. In fact, I've just got a warning here, or an alert on my mobile phone here. You can see that the Thunder charging session has started. Let's see what the maximum charge speed is. We'll need to charge 200 kilometers, 120 miles. See how long time it takes. I think this car can charge up to 150 kilowatts. Let's see if we get all the way up there. The charger, by the way, is 360 kilowatts. So any limitation will be from the car, not the charger. So look, it's charging at 141 kilowatts and we need 1 hour in order to get to 100%. This information is not really useful because nobody charges to 100% when they're on a road trip. The last 10, 20% is completely useless because it's super slow. So even though it says 1 hour remaining or 57 minutes, that's not what's going to happen in real life. 28% charge and the charging speed has gone up. We're now charging at 150 kilowatts. Maximum charging capacity of this car. Great. So here's something. When we charged at 150 kilowatts until we reached 40% state of charge approximately, and then suddenly it jumped all the way down to 71 where it's now sitting. We've charged 200 kilometers worth of energy, so that would be 49.4 kilowatt hours, and we've done it in 27 minutes. Not bad. It's a reasonable time for a stop. Honestly, today, with the cold, with the wind, I think this car was not as efficient as it could be. Let's see if this car helps me when I want to go on a long road trip. If I go into the GPS system, I can say, hi BYD. I want to go to Berlin, Germany.
Here is Berlin, Germany. Want to go there?
Yes.
Sure. Starting navigation.
Okay, so Berlin is 2,412 kilometers away, so I'm clearly not going to get there on a single charge. So let's see. If I click on this button here, I can see how far the car can go on the current state of charge. I've got 84% of battery, which is quite a lot of kilometers or miles. So you can see I can almost get out of Spain with that, but I'm of course not going to get all the way to Germany. So does it plan routes for me? Yes. Does it show me where to stop and charge? Unfortunately, no. I do have a database of chargers here because if I click on this icon, it's going to find chargers, but it's going to find chargers nearby. So I guess it's better than nothing because I can always find a charger nearby where I am once I get close to 0% energy. But I can't plan ahead. I can't plan a route before I start going. So better than nothing, but far from perfect. On the inside, the BYD Seal feels almost like a luxury car. We've got great materials here. We've got false leather, we've got suede, we've got plastics, but well-designed plastics. We've got seats which are ventilated and heated. We've got a heated steering wheel, which is big and chunky and nice and feels super solid. We've got a big screen in the middle, which can actually swivel if you wanted to. I don't know why you would want that. Maybe so you can see the GPS in sort of a vertical mode and you can see how much further ahead. Usually I just put it this way up. Also, by the way, if you're using sunglasses and they're polarized, you have to use it like that because if you turn it 90 degrees, you can't see anything on the screen. Funky, isn't it? I've also got a screen behind the steering wheel. It's okay. It gives me information. It could be a little bit better designed. It's got some funny colors going on. It's like blue and green and they sort of mix together a little bit. I've also got a heads-up display which shows me just the amount of information I need. No more, no less. In the middle, I've got a few buttons, but not that many. I can change a little bit of the settings on the aircon, change the gear selector. I can change my volume, my driving modes, and that's about it. I don't really need anything else. I do most of the things on the screen, and that is actually the way I prefer it as well. I have some buttons here on the steering wheel for audio and for cruise control and driver assistance features on the left. Space-wise, it's really nice. It's big and comfortable as a, semi-luxury sedan should be. I've done more than 3,000 kilometers so far in this car, and I feel just fine. The design is nice. A little bit more European than what we've seen from some of the other cars from BYD. Like, for example, the Atto 3, which got some funky lines and very complex designs going on the inside. I think in Europe we prefer it a little bit more simple like this. This isn't quite piano black, but almost. It's got some lines and drawings on it so that you can't see your fingerprints all over it. So inside the BYD Seal, I've got loads of space. This seat is adjusted to my driving position. I'm 1.90 m or 6'4" for those who use those rudimentary measures. And I've still got plenty of knee space. I've got head space thanks to this wonderful glass roof as well. I can adjust my headrest as well. I can put this one here down, and in the middle, I've got two cup holders. Nothing special here, nothing to plug in, no screens or anything like that. I've got 2 cup holders. If I want to plug in, I've got 2 USB ports down there. Materials are nice. It's just like in the front. It's cool and collected back here. Though you might see that these seats have little holes in it. It's not because they are ventilated, but it does cool you down a little bit. You know, you don't sit here and sweat on a hot summer's day when you're traveling in the back of the BYD Seal. Nice dark headliner, makes it all a bit more luxurious. Plenty of space. I mean, this is really big back here. It feels like I'm driving or I'm sitting in the back of a Gran Turismo, a big car that can really go far, and I can like, come on Jeeves, let's go. It's a nice place. So we're going to do this 0 to 100 kilometers an hour test and run the same as 0 to 62. I'm going to use the Draghi high precision GPS, which is going to give me the exact timing. Aside from that, the car also has its own inbuilt measurement system. Let's see if it gives me the same value. Supposedly, it can do it in 3.85 seconds. In fact, BYD is so confident in that they put it on the back of the car. Let's see if they're right. I have 78% battery. Yes, I probably should do this with closer to 100, but it is logistically not very easy to do. Should be fine though. Well, I think I can do better. It did feel not completely smooth. It has been raining recently, but the asphalt is kind of dry now, so it should be okay. Let's try it again. So here's the best result, 4:08. Now 4:08 is very close to the 3.85 official timing. And honestly, with 100% battery, somewhat better luck, I'm sure it could do it. I can't tell the difference. You know, it's only like 0.2 seconds apart. I don't think that's going to make a huge difference. So yeah, that's a pass. So I have 3 driving modes. I've got Eco, Sport and Normal, and I'm just leaving it in Sport because this is the 530 horsepower version, so why wouldn't I? I also have 2 regenerative braking settings. I've got Normal and High. So now I've set it to High, and let me just show you what they think is high. Now, driving down a straight road, and I'm letting go. I'm doing 40 kilometers an hour, letting go, slowing down slightly, 30, 25, 20. But once I get below 15, it stops doing any kind of regenerative braking. So I just keep cruising, which means that if in order to stop, I have to apply the brakes. Well, I don't have to apply them that hard, but it certainly helps. And it comes to a full stop, which means that I can use the regenerative braking to optimize my efficiency, but I can't really use it as a one-pedal driving, which is a shame. I think that BYD should try to fix this by software. We've got more than 300 horsepower in the back, more than 200 in the front. I'm sure that there's some way to adjust this to do more regenerative braking. And I think they should do at least an option so that I can come to a full stop and do one pedal driving. It could apply the brakes by software, or it could perhaps use the engines or the motors to come to a full stop. But that's one of the big benefits of having an electric car. It is regenerative braking and one pedal driving. I sort of miss it here. So driving the BYD Seal is extremely comfortable. It feels like a luxury vehicle in here. There's silence all around me. I can't really hear any road noise or any wind noise, anything like that. It feels very, very refined. Like only the Germans could do it, you know? Really good. Also, the suspension, look. Oh, great, great, great. Fantastic control. It's firm without being uncomfortable. It's just perfect in my opinion. Just right, just right. It's not, look, it doesn't wiggle. It just jitters around to wherever I want to go. So yeah, precise yet comfortable. They've done a marvelous job with the chassis and the suspension of this car. Absolutely wonderful. I have 2 settings for the steering wheel. I can have it in sport or in comfort. Honestly, I put it in sport. It's not too hard, so that's fine. Same thing with the brake pedal, also sport or comfort. I don't know why you'd put it in comfort, because sport is definitely more comfortable, because comfort in that sense, I guess it just means that it's softer to push, but really what you want is a brake pedal that gives you the right resistance so you can really feel when you're actually braking. Windows are double paned, which is good. There's a little laminate plastic in the middle just to reduce a little bit of a wind noise there. Yeah, there's no aerodynamic noise, there's no creaks or anything in here. One thing I do find funny though is that the response from the accelerator pedal is not as quite as quick as I would have liked it. Now, normally when I push on the accelerator, it instantly should lurch forward. Here, it just takes a millisecond to think about it. Then the response once I put my foot down is the response, or rather lack of, when I let go. Because if I just give it a quick burst of acceleration, then I let go, the regenerative braking should kick in instantly and help slow me down. However, it takes a little while. So see, I'm doing it, and then now I'm going, and half a second later, it lets go or it stops accelerating. Sometimes it feels like there's a lack of, I don't know if it's software or what it is, but they could make the response faster once you let go of the accelerator. I hope that with updates, BYD will improve slightly on this. They've done a great job improving on, for example, the ADAS, the driver assistance features, because I've tried BYDs in the past. I've even tried this very car in the past. So overall, the driving experience in this car is absolutely marvelous, fantastic. Feels like a high-end car, could have come out of Audi or BMW or Mercedes perfectly well. The quality of the interior, the feeling when you drive it is great. It's not as sporty as some of the other ones. I mean, I've tried the BMW i4 M50 or the Tesla Model 3 Performance. They feel a lot sportier than this. But again, this is 300 kilos heavier than the Tesla Model 3. That's that big LFP battery you got down at the bottom. And you can feel that when you drive it around, when you move the car, but even so, it's still very, very good. There's one thing that bugs me a little bit. Every time I go into the car, I start driving and the car goes beep, 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 beep. And that's a warning because I'm driving too fast. According to the car, I'm driving above the accepted speed limit. However, sometimes it reads a sign that's not the right sign, that doesn't apply to me, and it thinks I'm going too fast when I'm actually not. Happens quite a lot, actually. So what I tend to do is I go into the car, start driving, it starts beeping at me, and then I deactivate the system that beeps at me. The way to do it is clicking on this little card, go to ADAS, driving assistance, then you have to go to traffic sign recognition. And then you have to get rid of this here tick box that says intelligent speed limit. Now that tick box turns itself on every time I get into the car. That's not really the car's fault. It has to do that. That's European legislation. But it should be easier to turn it off, especially because it sometimes reads the wrong speed signs and starts beeping at me for no fault of mine. There's one thing that's quite interesting. You can't change the charging speed here. You can do smart charging, which is to program when it's going to start charging. I programmed it, for example, to start at 4:25 this morning. Let me just turn it off so I'm not going to be annoying the next guy who picks up this car. But you can't actually change the charging speed or change much else about it in here. Another funny thing about this system is you can't actually use the trip computer much because you can only see the total kilowatt hours spent. You can see on the consumption graph the kilowatt hours spent on the last 50 kilometers, but you can't do a trip. That's weird. I do like that the car has Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. I mean, I do have to plug the car in order for it to work. So I have a cable down here for my phone, but it's nice to have your phone mirrored up on this big screen here. We had this fantastic camera system as well, where I can see 3D all around the car. My door is open now, so you guys can actually see what I'm doing. That's why it looks a little bit funny now, and I can't actually see what's going on the right side. But if I were to close the door, I would be able to. If I don't want to see the 3D, I've got all sorts of different views. This is my messy garage. You can see it left, right, wide angle, narrow angle. Works really, really well. And I like the fact that I have Spotify because I've got an internet connection here and I can listen to my favorite music. I can even divide the screen up. So on one side I can have Spotify, for example, and on the other side I can have my GPS. And if I want to, I can swivel them around. I can change them around like that. 2 fingers and slide them across. It works really well. What happens if I swivel it in split screen view? It takes a while and I get top bottom view. Perfect. I like how fast this system is. It's really nice and easy to use. Remember, this is an Android-based system, so I've got all sorts of utilities and stuff I can install and add to it, and it'll improve over time through on the over-the-air updates as well. If I go into the media center, I actually have access to an SD card. I can plug in an SD card down there, and I can watch movies or I can listen to music that I've stored on it. I have LED lighting in the interior and it looks really, really nice. I can actually adjust it in here. So if I go to vehicle settings, lights, I can change the ambient light colors. You can't really see it much now because I've got quite a lot of light going on the outside. So I can change it here, change it to the different colors. And I can change just the whole car, the front, the rear. I can even do dynamic colors. So dynamic colors will like change over time. Funny thing, I can do music rhythm. If I do music rhythm, it's gonna be like a discotheque in here and go getting too old for that. Don't want that. Turn it off. It's especially annoying when you have a podcast on and it blinks to the rhythm of the voice of somebody reading you his opinion. There are two settings for the cars, what kind of sounds we want it to make. Right now, it's in the standard ones. You go into the menu, vehicle settings, notifications, and you can select standard or brand. So if it's in standard, it just sounds like a normal car. I almost can't hear it. It's very subtle. It's very nice. The indicators sound like indicators. Nothing special about that. However, if I change it to brand, suddenly it starts sounding like an ice cream truck. Listen to this. It's like a little musical theme going on all the time. And it also plays outside, so other people can enjoy it. And when I turn on the blinkers, it goes like this. This is for turning right. And if I turn to the left, so I can hear whether I've left it on for turning right or turning left. This is great. I love it. Puts a smile on my face. It even plays a little melody for me when I turn off the car. Listen to this. Sounds like a theme intro for a slow Western or something. And when I turn it on, it plays a slow version of Michael Jackson's Beat It. Oh, with a little guitar thingy at the end there. And now, when I shift it into gear, it also goes... I feel like I want to go have a wee now. Wonderful. I love it, BYD. I'm using the adaptive cruise control to make sure I stay at 121 kilometers an hour according to the car, but I'm also using the line keep. So this car has a level 2 driver assistance. It'll keep me in the lane, it'll keep the distance to the car in front of me. One thing I dislike about it is that it doesn't really tell me very, very clearly whether the lane keeping is activated or not. There's an icon I've got on the heads-up display which can either be blue or green, and I tell you, you gotta really look at it in order to make sure if it's on or off. Same thing here on the display. I've got a tiny little icon which is like half an inch wide. And that's the only indication I have whether the lane keeping is on or off. It doesn't beep or anything, and sometimes in a curve, like now, I stepped on the line there because it just suddenly turned off, and I got no warning whatsoever. It just turned that little icon blue instead of green. Come on, guys. Can't you beep at me or something in order for me to be 100% sure that now I'm the one who has to turn the steering wheel? Because even if you're attentive and sitting here driving, you do have to let the wheel turn by itself, but sometimes you have to do it, and it would be nice if there was an audio or something that alerted me to when I have to take control of it. Right now I'm driving on a secondary windy road here, and speed limit is 60 kilometers per hour. However, look, I'm coming up on a slight curve, not even that bad, and the car is exiting the curve, which is kind of normal for many of these systems. However, it doesn't alert me. It doesn't do anything. It just turns off a little green icon here. It really should just beep at me or something so that I know that this is a situation the car can't handle and I need to take control of it. That is something that definitely should be improved.
Let's have a look at the scores. Range and efficiency. In our test, we only managed a total range of 334 kilometers, which is on the lower side for a vehicle with an 82 kilowatt-hour battery. Perhaps the conditions weren't optimal, but even so, an efficiency of only 24.7 kilowatt-hours per 100 kilometers is poor. For this reason, it scores just 6 points. Charging. The charging time to add an additional 200 kilometers of range was 27 minutes. It's a reasonable time frame, though perhaps a bit lengthy for this class of vehicle, which should be ideal for long journeys. The software could improve with better route planning, charge speed adjustments and other features we've come to expect today. In the charging experience, it scores 6 points. Performance and handling. The BYD Seal is an absolute rocket that behaves surprisingly civilized. The acceleration of 0 to 100 in just 4 seconds puts it in the top league of sports cars. However, I miss a bit of immediacy in the accelerator pedal response. The suspension is smooth and very suitable. It's a shame that the different driving modes and regenerative braking leave much to be desired. In performance and handling, it scores 7.5 points. Interior and quality. The space inside the vehicle is generous, the design is beautiful, and the materials are more than adequate. It's a place I could spend a lot of time with great comfort. It's spacious and offers a good cabin for rear seat passengers. It's also appreciated it being the first BYD with an actual frunk. In interior and quality, it scores 8 points. Exterior and design. BYD has created a design fitting the taste of the European style, sporty and elegant at the same time. Its length of 4.8 meters ensures enough space on the inside without being excessively large on the outside. Plus, I like the available colors, the wheel designs, and in general, it's a car that turns heads. In exterior and design, it scores 8 points. Technology. The car features 2 screens plus a heads-up display. Its interface, based on Android, is easy to use and versatile. Even its voice recognition system is quite good. If you don't like the system, you can always use Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, though you're forced to plug in your phone for using that. I really like its external camera system. I have to admit, I have had some issues with fogging inside the car when driving at low temperatures, which forced me to constantly adjust the air condition settings to maintain good visibility. It gets 7 points in technology. Driver assistance. The Level 2 driving assistant is decent and I've used it throughout the journey. It maintains the lane well and adapts nicely to the traffic speed. However, it has some areas for improvement. For example, it automatically deactivates if the car exceeds 120 km per hour, and upon deactivation, it doesn't properly alert the driver, which requires you to stay very alert. Also, its erratic speed sign recognition means it's essential to deactivate the functionality that automatically adjusts speed. The driving assistant scores 6 points. Price. When looking for powerful electric sedans with all-wheel drive and a size larger than 4.7 meters, we can compare the BYD Seal to the BMW i4 M50, which has a price of 79,550 euros, to which a considerable cost must be added to match the extras already included in the Seal. More economical is the Hyundai Ioniq 6 all-wheel drive for 66,360 euros, but this is notably less powerful. There's also the Polestar 2 long-range dual motor for 54,390 euros, which, although less powerful and more expensive, offers a bit more range. However, the real rival to compare the BYD Seal with is the Tesla Model 3 long-range all-wheel drive. The Tesla has a price of 49,990 euros. The Tesla is a bit more compact than the BYD, though much more efficient and offers about 100 km more real-world range. The BYD Seal, with a current price of 48,990 euros, is the most economical in its segment and comes very well equipped as standard. With government discounts and subsidies, you can now get a car with long range and supercar acceleration for less than 45,000 euros. An absolutely spectacular price that earns it 9 points in this category. Wildcard. The wildcard applies when there's some non-standard feature in the car that can add or subtract up to 10 points for the final score. I want to add a point to the BYD Seal for offering the possibility to emit a sound similar to an ice cream van. Silly but funny. Taking into account the weight of each category, we arrive at a final score of 75 out of 100 points for the BYD Seal. A score that places it just 3 points from the highest score we've awarded so far. If you want to see which car has the highest score and compare the BYD Seal with other vehicles, you can do so on our website. You'll find the link below in the video description.
So that is the BYD Seal. Fantastic car and by far the best one that the brand has brought to Europe so far. Reasons for choosing this car are aplenty. I mean, the price point, the driving, the acceleration, the interior design, the exterior design, the luxury, the technology. Gosh, I really like this car. And what about you? Do you think that this is an interesting car for the European market? Would you consider purchasing one? Is there a better alternative at this price point? Leave a comment down below. I do enjoy them, especially when they're kind. And thank you very much for watching this video. I'll see you again soon in another Electro Exam. Ciao.